Today, I am thrilled to be joined by a true pioneer of the community economy, Miss Gina Bianchini. As the founder and CEO of Mighty Network, she is at the forefront of empowering creators and entrepreneurs to build their own independent community-powered businesses. Her journey in this space runs deep, having co-founded Ning, one of the original social network builders of the Web 2.0 era. More recently, Gina has become the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of Purpose, Design a Community, and Change Your Life, sharing her framework for building meaningful connections in the digital age. And as a self-described passionate believer in people magic, she has dedicated her career to building platforms that unlock the power of bringing people together around shared interests and goals. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my goodness. Y'all, hold up for a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, there goes Gina Bianchini. Mama, I done made it.
Oh my God. So what's wrong with I feel like my video and your video quality are like,
I need to come over to listen.
Like
I can come to the Mighty headquarters and we can talk about these cameras and these lights. You just put, I've already told Jane, put me on the payroll. I've already told Jane.
I know. It's so good. Anyways, hi.
How are you, my friend?
I am great.
Fantastic. Listen, I want to be cognizant of your time because you got a lot going on, right? It's that month, November, December, and you got things going on, and you're always asked to speak or present, and you're building communities and building networks. Let me just go ahead and get right into it. And let me start asking some questions from an organizational perspective, from a branding perspective, and then kind of some personal questions. I won't get too personal, but I'll just ask some questions as well.
Bring it.
Okay, so since founding Ning back in the Web 2.0 era to writing that best-selling book of Finding Purpose Through Community, you've kind of had a unique perspective on this space for nearly 2 decades. Again, I don't want to date anybody. We talked about that before. It's been a little bit of time.
You've been at this for a really long time. It's like,
you kind of call the core of this people magic, right? And as we enter what you've predicted will be an essential year for community, what has fundamentally changed that makes unlocking that people magic more critical for creators now more than any time in your journey?
I mean, on some level, if you think about it, as a species, we have never had greater competition for time and attention than we do right now. And that competition is AI. Essentially think about it as synthetic people. And if we do not create communities of real human beings enabled by technology, enabled by the very best technology, enabled by the same technology that is creating those synthetic people, we are at real risk of losing social fabric. And also, and probably more importantly, to me, that's like the boogeyman version of it. But like, there are so many incredibly talented, incredibly interesting human beings who are full of all the messiness and amazingness that makes life worth living. And so if we don't actually create software that enables new kinds of human relationships, and just so what we're really building with People Magic and at Mighty is we look at it as building a new social layer for the world. And if you think about what is now possible to build that new social layer for the world, like we've never had better tools, but those tools right now, today, are being used to create synthetic people that are keeping us further and further disconnected from each other. And we at Mighty Networks are building software that really hasn't been built before to try to bring people closer together and specifically do some pretty interesting things related to like, what are the dynamics to bring those people together, thinking in terms of groups and clusters of people as opposed to like individual transactions
Yeah.
of, the way that like the swiping culture has been. So, or even just like a chat culture that's like, human relationships is like people whizzing by you
Yeah.
with very short, very fast chat messages. And, I was asking myself the question the other day, and by the way, I promise not to answer every question you asked me with this long of an answer, but I think you started with one that is very dear to my heart and I think about a
On
lot.
purpose. On purpose.
Yeah. But like, I asked my team the question. I'm like, so are meaningful human relationships are they obsolete? Is it
Mm.
something that just like old people want? Like, or is it fundamental to the human condition? And I think that that's actually going to be a question that we are all going to be asking ourselves, and there's going to be a moments where there's going to be people within younger generations that are like, we don't need real human connection, except it's funny to me that the people that are wanting to be in person, the people that are living in houses together to create some of the most interesting technology right now, they're under the age of 25. And so I would argue that the world is desperately wanting a new social layer, a new community layer
Wow.
that makes it incredibly easy to meet the most interesting people in the world. Like this is our North Star at Mighty, to make it trivially easy to meet the most interesting people in the world, and then utilize software to make it easier and easier to nurture those relationships. The idea that we've actually on some level gone backwards in making it easy for people to actually meet and show up at the same place together. Like, I don't know if anybody else is like organizing events with their friends over text message, but there's always
Yeah.
somebody who like comes in and throws a bomb of like, no, that date doesn't work for me. And it just like shuts it down.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, somebody else has got to be like, all right, I'm going to pick up the ball here. And so they're so obvious. It's so obvious to us that we just need new technology to do this. And it will be done. I believe we have the right perspective and point of view to build something pretty extraordinary. And so far, in 2025, we've generated $500,000 in earnings across Mighty Networks. And that I think really speaks to the fact that we are incredibly thoughtful about how members are building relationships with each other. Like there might be other areas that like we're like, oh yeah, we should get to that. But what we've really tried to do is stick with and really define extraordinary relationships that can be built within a community, making community for members as convenient as possible by really investing in
Mm.
native app experiences, which is not it's not the same thing as like throwing an app around a web wrapper and calling it an experience, a native mobile experience. And then, just the way that we approach our software is different. It's like, hey, here's multiple spaces. We want you to grow without worry. All of these kinds of things, it all leads to our North Star of being that new social layer for the world.
Mighty Networks cares, ladies and gentlemen. And the lady behind the behind the desk is the one who's telling us his truth right here. So you kind of answered a couple of other follow-on questions I had in regards to that, and I appreciate you for that in
Sure.
depthness. But because I was going to ask, and you mentioned generative AI, but I was going to ask, what specific kind of shifts are you seeing that make it kind of pivotal moment right now for communities? I still want to ask that question, but along with that, community versus audience.
Mhm.
Right. I don't think a lot of digital creators, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, sometimes we blur that line or don't really have a good definition of community versus audience.
Right.
What are your thoughts when I bring that up?
We have turned the word community into a catch-all, a generic catch-all for like any group of people. And I have a very specific definition for it, which is a set of people who have relationships with each other versus an audience which only has the relationship with the creator. So the difference is I talk out at you, you talk back at me, that's an audience. A community is where I bring people together and facilitate them being able to build relationships with each other. And the sad truth is that for the vast majority of creators who have gotten very good at building audiences, that kind of audience and the feedback mechanism that social media gives you makes you assume that you are the most important person in the room and that what people want to buy from you is access to you and your content. So that's why we are seeing this, explosion. And by the way, we support digital twins, and we have an announcement coming out next week with a company that does probably the leader in the world of digital twinning, or this ability to be able to feed all your content into a chat with James or a chat with Gina, or in some cases a full digital twin, a digital version of yourself. But I take a different approach, which is this idea that people just want to, again, have a synthetic version of you, and that they want to buy access to you. When we look across the data on Mighty Networks, here's the secret. If you make it about you, you will underprice relative to what people will pay for when it's all about the community and about meeting other members and meeting other members who are on the same path. You will have much higher churn. And we see this all the time. You will have much higher churn because you are charging for access to you and to a synthetic version of you, as opposed to, hey, I'm the host of this party. I'm the host of this experience. And my goal is to offer you ideas that you can take and bring in and apply in your own life, and do so with people who are on the same path. Which sounds more interesting? And then the final piece is that, there's all of these and then we have to have 85 workflows, and don't get me wrong, we love automations. But what are you automating? Are you automating more ways that you are trying to show up? Or are you sparking relationships between people such that it's a community that runs itself? So I think that there's this fundamental question in communities going forward, and you see this everything from Meta to a lot of the upstarts, which is, are we trying to replace people, or are we trying to create software that facilitates real human connection? And you just have to look at the results, and you just have to look at the engagement numbers to see, we are pretty unique at Mighty in the results that we're getting for people. And that's a direct result. The results are a direct result of, or a consequence, just to make it a little bit more interesting to say out loud. It's a direct consequence of how we approach building software for communities, which is very different than anything else out there.
Now, if you wanted to do like a pre-launch or drop some breaking news, I won't tell Tom. You said you got something coming. If you wanted to say that here, we could exclusive Gina Bianchini, but no, we won't do that to you.
I appreciate that. But you did actually just remind me of something I need to do when I get off this call. Anyways, keep going.
All right. Well, there you go. See, I'm going to be concise, and, I'm just going to lead off of what we're talking about. But right there, balancing AI-driven efficiency with kind of that human element that makes communities. You have always been very conscious to tell folks on your workshops, on your webinars, on your podcasts, things like that again, it's not about me, the individual that may be the host. It's not about me as my events or my coaching.
Right.
It's that people magic piece that.
Yeah, it's the relationships that yes. It's the it's the relationships that are being created between your members. Like, also, like, what are we doing if we are not helping people build relationships with other people?
Yes.
I like, honestly, I'm just sitting here, I'm like, okay, whichever way you want to look at it, I don't think that there is a greater calling in the world, or one that is going to lead to as much success as how do I help people meet the most important people in their lives? How do I help people meet folks to go through life with,
Mm.
to support each other at moments of great joy and great grief, to fall in love, to understand what our principles and priorities are. Like, there's just like so many things that, I love what AI is helping me do, and the things that it is helping me unlock. I could not be more bullish on where the world is going when it is a world with AI. But what we need is a counterweight to this incredibly powerful software that is going to take and eat more and more and more of our time. It's not going to let go of us. And so if we don't create software using the same tools, using the same technology that is now available, if we're not able to build technology that makes people an even stronger draw, so we
Mm.
find that counterbalance, if we don't do that, it's not going to end well. And it's also not going to be as much fun, because as much as I love spending the evening with my friend Claude, I it's not the same.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is a synthetic version of a human being. And the really scary thing for, I would just say this, neither here nor there about community, but it's true, which is, if you are not also surrounding yourself with human beings that bring out the best in you, or that surround yourself with people who are not helping you become more excellent or push yourself or grow in certain ways, you can spend all of your time in AI that is only going to produce mediocre AI. So the worst thing that anybody on the planet can do with AI right now, in my opinion, is think that your job is to ask ChatGPT or Claude a couple questions and, without critical thinking, send it to your boss. Because if your boss is using AI, guess what?
They got the same
They
answer.
know. Well, or a better one,
Yeah.
at which point they're like, okay, not that this has ever happened to me, but just this ability to be like, wait a second, why do I need you if you did not bring any humanity to this?
What's the value?
You did not bring any, whether it's relationships or insights or conversation or creation or creativity, and that can only be had with people. And then AI can be an accelerant to that, but it cannot be a replacement for uh, unlocking just more and more incredible experiences that we can be creating in life. And I will just tell you, as my little R&D team here at Mighty Networks, is Mighty Networks, by the way, my little, R&D team at Mighty Networks, it is mind blowing when you really focus and you really think about all the things that are possible now for human beings to do and create with other groups of human beings. And I don't think we have even scratched the surface
Mm.
on what those things are, or what that will look like, or the value that is going to be created. And I think about this every day, because we are just at the beginning of all of this. And when I look at the fact that 84% of all activity across Mighty Networks is driven by members connecting with other members contributing and coming back for other members. Think about that, 84%. The industry average is about 15%. And even, folks that are like out there being like, oh my God, look at our incredible numbers. And it's like, really? You're like, that's not that incredible. 84% equals unlocking $500 million in highly engaged, highly valuable earnings. So now imagine what happens when we layer on more and more ways of making connections between members that are increasingly valuable. While again, as in contrast, more and more people are going to be investing in how do I replicate myself? I've been shocked because I'm really close to this, but I've been really shocked that more people don't see that contrast as clearly as I do, or James as a close watcher of Mighty. You understand and see, but it's just the contrast and experiences are just so profound.
Right there, I was expecting you to say the catchphrase that I've stolen from you.
Hmm.
And you know what it is.
Yeah, but steal away, dude.
Oh, I've told
Steal
you too.
away.
I've told you online, but right there, I was expecting you to say people pay attention to what they pay for.
And by the way, I stole that from somebody
Oh
else.
my God. Okay.
So
All
yeah.
right.
So what's good is I always give him credit.
Yeah.
Um,
I give
but
you
people
credit
pay
too.
attention. Thank you. But people pay attention to what they pay for. And by the way, people are paying for experiences. They're paying for you to remove social risk in their lives. They are paying for you to help unlock value as
Mm.
defined by help me through a transition. Help me show up somewhere and feel like I'm welcome. Help me make the best friends of my life. And imagine a world where, for me, for any of us up until this point, we have had to know somebody who's really great at making those introductions. We've had to know in person really amazing hosts or meet them online. And now imagine a world where everyone is exposed to a world, again, this new social layer,
Yeah.
where everybody feels welcome because they are. And we are able to use natural language and data to envelop more people in experiences with other actual human beings
The fact
that
that
are the fact that I have to clarify that is really important.
I was going to say, wait a
And
minute.
it's trust me, it's like one of those things where I'm like, and I'm going to define that. But I mean, to me, this is where I cannot tell you how excited I am that it is Tuesday, right before a holiday, where I get to go spend time thinking about this and working with my little R&D team
Love it.
here at Mighty Networks on where it's going, because I could not be more excited at the demand and the
Mm.
need for what we are building and the tools that we can now take and build something incredibly powerful and incredibly new.
Hearing that top down, and I know it's not just top down, but hearing that from everyone, I'll say foundationally at the organization, really resonates. And
Yeah.
I'm again glad that you're transparent about that. And this is nothing new. You've been doing. I'm not gonna say again how long you've been doing it, but this is what you've been
A
doing.
really, yeah, a really long time. No,
You're just gonna kill me.
I had lunch with a founder, just an absolutely fantastic 26-year-old founder, and he's like, "Yeah, you've been doing this like a really, really, really long time." I'm like, "Dial it back, dude. Dial it back."
You know,
Like,
we're seasoned.
but
That's what it is. You're
right,
seasoned.
right. But here's the thing: it's like where we are is that both experience does matter,
Mm.
and that the tools and experience, the power is where tools and experience come together, as long as you're open to it and as long as it's something that I love this quote from Barry Diller when I literally asked him this question, like a Q&A, where I was just like, how are you continuing to do a bunch of stuff after like reinventing the world of media and entertainment like 3 different times. And he's like, I just have to wipe away the skepticism and the cynicism every day. So it's like the ability to show up at things
Mm.
with fresh eyes and being open. I think it's a mark of any growth-minded person. But as entrepreneurs, like if you don't do that, you will die. Like you will take the team that is working on your stuff with you and what you're trying to build, and you will murder it. And that's not what we're doing here.
All right. I don't want to get you in trouble. So I'm going to ask only one more question, maybe two. This podcast right here. I've watched almost every episode. I have.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for
There's
that.
like 60 of them. I've watched all the episodes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's called People
They're
Magic.
short.
Yeah, they're
short.
I right you when I go to the gym, that's what I'm rocking with.
Oh my God. I love that.
I don't
I'm
listen to
with you at the
music.
gym.
I listen to podcasts and audiobooks. So,
Oh, that's great.
what is kind of for you on this podcast? What has kind of been the most surprising lesson though that you've learned about community building from just the process of creating this podcast in and of itself?
How much value we can pack into 15 minutes.
Mm.
And that in a world where there's so many great conversational podcasts or 3-hour long, like bordering on culty podcasts,
Yeah.
that you can create something that's like, hey, let me just answer people's questions. And there are insights to be drawn from other people's experiences and drawn from other people's experiences in ways that are just, it's information dense. At least that's what I hope for. And by the way, that doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about because I put a pin in the People Magic podcast, and I'm getting ready to launch something new. So maybe I'll come back to you, James.
I'm gonna say a lot of teasing of
I know,
new things coming.
I know, because not that we're like sleeping on anything here, but there's just some fun stuff that I'm like working on right now. So,
ladies and gentlemen, I've been waiting to get Gina here for like
a while.
A while. I'm busy. We're ringing the bell at the NASDAQ. No, okay. I'm sorry.
But I am here now, and I'm stoked to be here now.
You are, and I appreciate this. And again, I want to be cognizant of your time because I hear Tom yelling in the background, so I'm not sure what that is. But maybe it's
but
time.
No, it's fine. But you can like strip that out of the replay. So sorry about that. Sorry about that, everybody.
No, listen, that means it's real. That means it's real. So let me ask this one question about the book. Congratulations, Wall Street Journal bestseller. How has kind of feedback from that book and its readers kind of influenced you on a daily basis, and have you evolved mighty?
I think, the reason I wrote the book was that I saw such a consistent connection between purpose. What are we doing on planet Earth with our time, attention, energy, and focus, and community, and recognizing that the best communities, the most important communities, the most impactful communities start with a big purpose. And wanting to push myself to offer to the challenge of like, how can I help, and how are more people aware of community as an option for them, both guiding or hosting communities, as well as being a member of communities. And that's why I wrote the book. And it's been incredibly well received. I'm very grateful for that. I don't know that I ever have another book in me, but maybe I do. But I'm glad I did it. And I get such incredible letters from people sharing their purpose, sharing their future story, this whole concept of like 5 years in the future, where are you? What have you done? What impact have you made on other people? What has that allowed them to unlock in their lives? And what has that meant for you to be able to unlock in yours? And again, are there more important questions? Are there more important topics than how do we show up for ourselves and how do we have an impact in the world? Community is the most powerful business model. It is the most meaningful activity. It is how any fascinating, amazing innovation has happened, discovery has happened, culture has been built. And so understanding, I think it's one of the reasons why I'm drawn to what are the building blocks of incredible communities. And by the way, I'm really grateful for this conversation because you're helping me just take a moment in a otherwise busy day when 47,000 things are happening to just remind myself why this matters, why we at Mighty Networks do what we do. And it's the money that we are helping our hosts generate. It is a proxy for impact. It is a proxy for value. And that fundamentally is what we are here to do, is to, again, create that social layer for the world that unlocks a new level of value, connection, relationships, impact, meaning, and purpose. And hopefully we can continue to pull it off. Oh, wait, why are you muted now?
I'm not.
I can't.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What is going on over there? Are you all right?
Was I muted?
Oh, you were.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I was saying, see, first and foremost, you haven't had an interview like this before. I know. Hopefully, this is the most comfortable, casual, but still poignant
Lovely.
to the right. So there we go. That's me to you, coming as a friend. I was saying the passion, the empathy, the conscious nature coming again from you. I really wanted to have that piece come out. So folks, 'cause there's a lot of other alternatives out there, right? It's busy streets out there in these content creation arenas, communities, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
There's a ton of other folks, but to again hear a Gina Bianchini say all of the things that you said thus far, again starting from a foundation and from the top, and everyone at least that I've worked with at the company has echoed the exact same thing. Jane's tired of me. Every time I talk to Jane, she's like, "Okay, dude, leave me alone." And I think you kind of summed up from the last question what I wanted to say. What's your hope for short and midterm, not the long term, short and midterm from a Mighty Networks perspective, and then what you can be telling community owners about the power of building community versus audience?
We are in the midst of building something that has not been built before.
Mm.
And it's hard AF.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty confident we're going to pull it off, but I'm like, it wouldn't be a challenge if it was easy.
Yeah.
So for me, the short and midterm is like, holy shit, can we pull this off?
Yeah.
And can we build the thing that we are building that really matters, especially, with new tools. And that's different. It is different. We are building something different. And so, will anybody want it? Will it work? Will it do the things that we are dreaming it to do? Now, the good news is the reason we can take on really hard challenges like what we are building right now and is not available to anyone out there is because we have a strong foundation as a team, as a platform, with our hosts, with their members, and beyond, and have been consistent and clear in our vision and our mission. and never our roadmap because we just keep knocking things out. So that's how I think about the short and the midterm. Nothing in terms of innovation and discovery and the things that we are doing that have not been done before. There are no guarantees, but that's what makes it fun and exhilarating.
All right, now get to work. Ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen, Gina Bianchini is someone who I admire. And to finally have you here, I'll say it again, like I said at the beginning, Mama, I think I'd have made it because I wanted to have this conversation just to hear the drive, the passion, again, the what's going on and why it's going on. All right, I care a little bit less about how, because you'll figure that out and you got the right people.
Right.
But, I'm going to stay less of the tactical side and more on the strategic side. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your team. Tell Jane I'm sorry for continuing to bother her, but I'm going to continue.
She likes you.
I'm going to continue to advocate, right? I mean, and that's the thing. I don't like the word influence. I like the word advocate. I want to continue to advocate for Mighty Networks. So I'm going to continue to advocate for you and what you're doing because you're doing the good work. Be well, my friend.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.